I'm Kyle Wiggers. I'm here with Nathan Lambert, and just to set the stage a little bit, I'm a newer hire at Ai2, joined about a month ago as Comms Lead, and basically my day-to-day is making sure that the great work happening here gets out in front of people, and they know about it, and they can engage and ask questions about it, and use our stuff however they see fit. So, Nathan, with that, I'm going to throw it to you. So we've talked a little bit in person now, but also a lot on the Slacks and, ad hoc. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about what excites you right now at Ai2, what you're working on. Obviously, you're Olmo is a big focus, and Olmo, for people who aren't familiar, is our, series of LLMs. What really excites you about the direction that's taking as you work towards this next series, this next family of Olmo models? And, what do you want the people to know about that they might not already?
I think it can be hard to package what Ai2 actually does, because there's things that people know about there's different audiences, and different audiences know about different pieces of the work. I think the biggest numerical audience will know about the Olmos and Molmos of the world. Yeah. But I kind of see that as a spearhead to make it so that academics can do more interesting types of research. I think we see the likes of Claude Code popping off right now in agents, and Ai2 is kind of dogfooding itself to make better models so that more interesting research can be done. I think that I'm honestly a little underinformed on all of the ASTA and scientific discovery stuff that we're doing, but a lot of it, I see it as this, Olmo is the tip of the spear to make it so the whole AI research ecosystem that Ai2 is a part of can do more relevant things. And there's debate on how useful open models are for actual businesses and products, but the steps continue to be raised in terms of performance, which makes it more viable for the answer to be at least yes, kind of, instead of no, open models are kind of a toy unless you have extreme privacy concerns or something like that. So it's kind of matching what Ai2 does and trying to make this from a organization that is a fun place with has a lot of researchers, and how to actually just keep turning the crank and staying in this kind of competitive space of where models are. And I expect more fully open models to be coming soon from the community. So it's even Ai2 has a pretty narrow niche, has a lot of competition, and it's how to balance interesting, innovative ideas without feeling like you're getting left behind or getting too much pressure. I think that's a hard thing for a research institute to balance, but it is fun.
Right, yeah. I mean, you mentioned a second ago, how much work Ai2 was doing, across the various divisions and teams, right? It's hard for me as, a comms person to keep track sometimes, right? But it's all super interesting. And, importantly, it's all,
Wait until we tell you about the projects that people just isolate so that they can grow with no one knowing about it. If they're we want to do this, but we need to take the GPUs for a little bit and hide them.
Oh, interesting. The Skunks works. I haven't been, tuned on to that yet. I think we'll have to have a conversation offline, and we can't, talk about this publicly.
There's one a year.
Oh, okay. One secret project that not even comms knows about. That's great. That makes me feel safer about my work. Certainly, I have a lot of work cut out for me. No, one thing I wanted to mention too is across all of these different projects, right? One theme is consistent, and that's openness, right? And full reproducibility, right? And you mentioned Ai2 has more competition in a way, because there's a lot of labs that are putting out open weights models, right? And the code to fine tune them and train them, but correct me if I'm wrong, I feel one still unique and differentiating thing about Ai2 is we're very, as an organization, committed to making sure that these things we put out are scientifically useful, right? It goes beyond just you could train a really good LLM, and it'd be impressive, maybe reach SOTA and some benchmarks, right? But are the training data sets available? Could you train it from scratch if you wanted to, right? Can you like study it in depth and in detail? So I think that's what's exciting about AI2 in a way, and I don't see many other players doing that, and I feel like maybe that's where we continue to have a niche, right? And like where I don't see a lot of investment, and it's kind of like sad in a way. At the same time, it's an opportunity to like lead in the space.
Yeah, so there are two others. I think Hugging Face has their small LM series, which is doing this, and they've been they're consistent in getting models out there, and then also what was LLM 360 is now like an Institute for Foundation Models or something in the Bay Area, and they're doing similar things. So I think both of those orgs are really starting to do similar things to AI2 and having the full stack be open. I think AI2 has more of an integration in the research community, which helps understand what exactly people are doing with it and be part of some of these projects through extended collaborations that people do. That's one thing, but it's also just hard to have your differentiation always be like, oh, we replicated Llama and be fully open. I think that it needs to shift to be fully open and also useful in certain ways. So that's something you'll pick up on if you haven't already from leadership. It's like, okay, what are we actually doing with this? So like either that we're doing models and coming up with new like novel methods to solve open problems on like how do you make a model do a certain thing and some new methods to get there, or new application domains in terms of having a model that's useful for one thing. There's only so many years where you can just say like, oh no, the best fully open model. I think that you can create a strong niche for yourself, and that's kind of like the base. But if you keep doing the same thing, eventually you're not really reaching more people and growing in the impact that you're having. And I think for a nonprofit, it's crucial to serve that opening in the complex AI ecosystem. But even like nonprofits need to tell stories and do things for people to stay interested. Like that takes evolution of what AI2 is doing and kind of building out impact.
I'm glad you brought up the nonprofit aspect. You're definitely correct about in all you said. But at the same time, like I think being a nonprofit positions AI2 like very like strategically to like affect good change in the AI community. Certainly in the area of benchmarks, I think. I mean, I don't know if you disagree, but I see more useful benchmarks come out of AI2 than a lot of for-profit entities, and I think that's partially because the incentives are different, right? For even like a Hugging Face, I feel like, yeah, they have, fortunately, they have like the capital to throw at kind of like interesting projects, right? And projects that, to be fair, they maintain and, build on. But AI2, like, because like we as an organization are so committed to the science of this, right, and sort of like advancing, like I think not only like the dev side of things and putting out useful things for the dev community, like there's also like real interest here in like putting out like impactful papers, right, around like benchmarks and like actually like again making scientific progress, right? So I think that's really neat to see, just like the benchmarking and evaluation side of AI2's work, which seems to be huge from what I'm seeing on the comms side. Like I get so many. I
feel like we can leverage it more. It's mostly a personnel thing. It's like if you're an Eval's person that wants to do this and make impact there, like get in touch. I think.
Yeah, honestly.
And as an example, you talk about the research thing. An example is like mobilizing the trust thing across the ecosystem is you have to be more engaged on what other models are doing as well. Right. And we're not. That's a big thing to do, is like to be like try to consistently evaluate other models and be more like have tooling that more people use that's centralized on evals. I think there's opportunity there, especially like if we could bridge. These are hypotheticals, but bridging gaps like making our whole OMO eval code base useful for people that are trying to have trust in the ecosystem and stuff. And that's not easy to do technically. It's a major engineering lift mostly and maintenance, so that's why it hasn't happened. Is you need a person with a lot of vision on evals and technical will to execute on it, but that's the trust part is what could be really great about it too. Yeah. And I think that's why also to transition to put some space for you to talk is like about the media thing, which is how to get AI2's voice to be heard and to hopefully provide grounding to people that are grasping at what they see. I think there's a lot of both like leaked news and real news that is just very confusing that is put out there, and that was one of the things when I joined a while ago. Is like, okay, how do we untap some of the good people here in terms of just disseminating correctness and like just kind of groundedness across the communications of AI.
Yeah.
It's hard to actually do. I think a lot of it comes down to personality and random circumstance for researchers on if they do that. But this is something that you could also kind of tap into, and you have a lot of experience in the media ecosystem or can sense people that want to can take a push and do a lot of good with that. So there's a good time to flip it back on you and be like, what do you want to have impact as coming from some like a related side of comms, as long time at TechCrunch and covering technology, and like what are your aspirations in achieving that?
Yeah. That's a multi-part question for sure. Let me see if I could break it down a little bit. So, I definitely was excited to join Ai2 because, one, it's a nonprofit and doing work that I think would be difficult to get buy-in for at like a commercial organization. And I think, to what you were saying a second ago, like there's more need every day for like kind of like an unbiased, neutral take on like a lot of what's happening in AI right now. And I see Ai2 as that. We have so many talented researchers, not only like, on staff here, but like we collaborate externally with a lot of like really accomplished people in the field, right? Like at Yale, like at major institutions, Stanford, and it's such like a valuable thing we have at our disposal, and we can put in front of like people who are asking like really good questions about like, okay, like is this thing I saw on Twitter like real or not? Like, is this discourse I'm hearing about like, can you ground that a little bit for me? Obviously you do a lot of media appearances, and I think that's great. Like, you talk to like Kevin Roos at the New York Times, all these like high profile journalists, but it's like nice that, you have an employer that like is encouraging of that, right? Like is like, sees the value in like putting, Ai2 out there as like a source of truth, which, it's harder and harder, like I said, to do because there's so much noise. And like there's so many players in the AI space, like you can like correct me if, you think I'm off track here, but there's so many players who I think, really are just maximizing for almost like virality, right? And they're trying to be like...
Or fundraising.
Yeah, fundraising, and they get creative with the benchmark charts sometimes, it's like pass at 30 or something, like it's like the, not naming names, but definitely there's some models that come out, supposedly they're great on all these different benchmarks, and you try them out, and it's like, this is kind of not that great. And like the marketing got ahead of like, the actual artifact here, right? So I think it's really awesome that Ai2 can not like rain on people's parade, but say like, okay, like this super hyped up thing that's getting a lot of, attraction right now, or like attention, is maybe not actually that, it doesn't advance the field as much as maybe the advertising would have you believe. And maybe like there are more important things to worry about, and we should like, try to shift the focus to those areas like evaluations, right, and benchmarks. So I think that's really cool, and like again, like a neat opportunity that we have, and I feel like we're in such a niche and interesting place that like a lot of these labs are not, and it's exciting to leverage that and like push that further if we can.
How do you think structurally we do this? I think if Ai2 has the vision, I think it's not going to. The Ai2 Twitter account isn't going to quote tweet people and be like wrong. Like you could have like a junior researcher might do that.
I mean, that sounds like fun.
But like that's the only thing that is like obviously going to go big eventually. But it's like, how do you mobilize like what is reasonable comms as something that happens, and it could be Ai2 official or just getting people to do that. I think that the media ecosystem makes that a lot harder than it used to be.
Fair enough. And yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate having come from journalism. Like I'm well aware of like the business challenges in journalism right now. And like there are a lot fewer AI reporters than there used to be. And that's kind of unfortunate because like, then who's like disseminating all this information and like trying to get at the truth? I think, obviously like, the media relations are important, but I think also what's important is fostering like a good community, right? Like, and that's why like I'm really putting a lot of attention anymore into like trying to build up this Discord. And thanks again for folks watching on the Discord. Make it bigger, make it a place where people can come and ask questions that they might have about anything that's going on in AI. And then we have experts like who are ideally participating in that when they have the time and they're not intensively doing research. And also meet people where they are, right? Like foster that community not only on Discord, but like Reddit, just around the interwebs, right? Like where people are. So that, maybe there's fewer AI journalists that people can go to when they have questions about this stuff. Or, frankly, journalists are just swamped with assignments now, right? Because, like, OpenAI is releasing a model every week or, That's
the other thing is, like, how to find time to tell the bigger story when there's just the drumbeat of like normally the summer is pretty slow. I think you've seen
that's gone. That's
the summer slowdown is like it's like a half beat. It's like a half beat slower now, and it's like in a week when nothing happens. But that's the thing. It's like how normally nothing happens in tech in the summer, and getting people to. That's a whole nother change in messaging beyond the virality thing. It's like people look at news, not trends isn't the right word, but just kind of like what does this mean is even harder when it's always like state of the art model, $100 million fundraise. Yeah. It's just like
new Quen family, came out like at midnight, right, or something like that.
I mean, AI2 is new research paper, and it's like how to figure out how AI2 can fill in some of these lines or try to get more of this kind of like full-bodied coverage of like what does this mean for AI? Like what are the big talking points over 6 months is interesting. Yeah. I mean, I even personally have less mental space to do that because there's so much going on. It's just easy to be like, oh, reaction.
Right. And sadly, an agent
like calibrated
can't really do that for you.
Yeah, calibrated reaction is good, but finding ways to create space for that would be good.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how many like communities you're a part of, like on Discord, for example, but like I think of like Eleuther AI. Like, there's a lot of good servers out there where people like they joined and then they're along for the ride, like right. Like I'm a part of them too, and I get notifications from time to time, and like they're telling their story. These organizations, right? It's like, oh, remember this research paper we like let the server know about a couple months ago? Like here's an update on that. Like here's like we're working toward this major like data set release or like this model release, right? So I would love to get us to the point where like we have just kind of like people like tuned in and like a following and like they're invested in the work, right? I mean, obviously you have to incentivize that kind of like, I think that might be what you're getting at a little bit. But if we can make a good case for that, just by showcasing maybe just some of what we're doing that is different and unique and adding value, and then that leads to, it's kind of like a flywheel that builds up the community, and then like we are reaching, key audiences, and then maybe hopefully they're doing some of our work for us, right? They're then like, reaching their own audiences, right? Or like, their sub audiences or whatever, right? Like we get like a big, influential person in the AI space, like, invested in AI2 or like following what we're doing, more closely, and then they communicate that to their followers, right? And I think maybe that's the strategy that like, any person in the space or organization has to take now at this point. It's like, like it's impossible for one comms team to break through the noise, right? Ideally, you have people who like care about what you're doing on some deep level, right? And they just they want to do a PSA basically, like when you put out something new and exciting or that excites them, right? They think like, okay, this is super important. I know this is a good organization. I know like they're doing good work, and I want as many people to know about it as I can possibly reach, right? And I think that's, when you see that happen, that's so gratifying.
I mean, how do you actually think about that? A researcher gives you a blog post draft and asks you to help edit it. Like, how do you mobilize the big picture goal in the fact that a lot of your time is going to be a lot of low-level things?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm happy to. And it's kind of cool, actually, being like I'm sort of in a post-journalism phase now, both, right? Like,
it's like post-journalism society.
It's like PTSD, actually. But no, one cool thing I've I've built up through my journalism work is like a big community of like people in the space, like big developers that you probably know them or you've seen them on Twitter, right? And like I chat with them, I just DM them about stuff. So I'm asking them about AI2 stuff, and like I've been like querying people about Olmo, and I'm like, okay, like, why don't you think this gets as much attention as it should? And is it difficult to use in some ways? Like, what would you change about it? What about the tooling maybe is tough? It's good to get those conversations going, because then ideally, maybe we can't like satisfy everyone, but they know we're listening, and that maybe makes it. That's honestly like a lot different than a lot of labs, I would say, where it's like.
Well, a lot of people have developer advocates, which is something that I thought we should be hiring. We've tried to hire. It's hard to find these people, so it sounds like you're doing part of that work from a different background, which I think is very useful. I think it's a bread and butter, like Hugging Face, Mistral.
Yeah.
Llama, maybe at some point. But like Hugging Face and Mistral have been really good about this, and a lot of other smaller companies, and that's how they have that technical interface, or somebody that's like, okay, I got you. Like, I hear you.
Yeah.
And it's hard for researchers to always do this, because sometimes the stuff is like, I mean, you can get just crazy inbound. So kind of like having different loops is good for AI2 to do that and get the word out that you want people to use these things.
Yeah. I mean, so like, I'm doing like a lot internally, right? Like, editing blogs, writing them, like writing, tweets, all that stuff, community management. But like, I'm also, like trying to like advocate too. And, I'm happy to do that, because like I understand researchers, like they're juggling a million jobs, right? They're doing like paper reviews, like they're going to conferences, like, and then, they're like helping with like a big artifact release. But then they also like have other research too, right? So like they might be on to the next thing, and like it's hard to like pay close attention to like something that they put out a while ago, right? And like, see whether it's growing, whether it's not, what were the pain points, because like they're just like so saddled with work. So it is a challenge for AI2. Like, I mean, we're not big. We're not a massive organization by any stretch. We're kind of like outgunned on some fronts, like by the big labs, just because they get money from all sorts of places.
Question. How do big tech companies get such big like microphones? Because they all end up with such big microphones over the years. And
it just grows. Like, there's a correlation to the size of the funding round. The mic just grows every time, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so I see this.
By the Series D, like it's like half of the frame.
I describe it as there's two phases. One is people listen when you do things, which everyone like AI2 has
serious,
this. Like AI2's artifacts get seen, but then there's the next level where they listen when you say things. Yeah. So OpenAI could release a very high level, like, here's our rough policy agenda in 4 bullet points, and everybody reads it. But like AI2, we have position, like we want to see investment in open source and investment in like research and AI and generally, but it's like we don't have it's hard to get people to listen, and that's the gap to bridge that all these companies have done well at. And I think maybe that the answer is just time and effort, but I've seen it many times.
Yeah. So like how do they grow their platform, right?
Or Hugging Face. Like Hugging Face just seems like they do it intentionally. They just do a lot of shots on goal, and then eventually you've built.
Yeah, I mean, and Hugging Face is great, and their strategy seems to be working for them, like they all retweet each other, and it's like a big happy family on X, and like people seem to love that, and like Clem, like I think he has like pretty good takes, right, and at least compelling ones like that get people talking. But AI2, like maybe we take a different approach in part because our researchers are like so just like focused on what they do best, which is like, really like, they bring their expertise and they put out like really impactful work, right? And they can't always be on X like retweeting stuff. Like I'm on
Twitter on the work computer. No, no Twitter on phone. No Twitter on the work computer.
Rule here, actually, you cannot install like if you try to navigate to it, like an agent like pops up and it like navigates you away. It's like, let me find a more useful, productive website for you to. No, I mean I'm on it too much, and like it's hard to monitor. It really is, like, because it's just, I mean, even our official account, we get so many like engagements now. It's like I can't imagine scaling that up like 3 times, which would be great, and we'd love to do that. But how do you build that over time? I think it's just getting our name out there more, right? Ideally, and you can say that. What does it actually mean? I think. certainly making people more aware of what it is we do and like that we exist. I mean, it was shocking, like when I was like, covering this from a media side, how few people knew about AI2 unless they were really embedded in the AI space, right? I've had to like explain my job to like countless people now. It's like, oh, you work for a nonprofit. That's great. Like that, but what do they do again? What's a research institute exactly? Like what actually happens there? So, as we're trying to reach a broader audience, and I think OpenAI and like, labs like that and Anthropic have crossed a threshold, right? They're in the mainstream consciousness now. Like ideally we're there too, and people are thinking about like what we bring, right? It's not going to be ChatGPT, but it can be like a informed perspective on what's happening. Like if we're tapped as like an expert resource, again, like a neutral party, that's ideal. But we put out good research too, and like good benchmarks. Sci-Arena, excuse me. Like Sci-Arena recently. I don't know if you've used it, not to put you on the spot, but like I think that's like an example of like something that nobody else was doing, right? Like benchmarking like LLMs for, scientific research purposes, right? And like literature review and like seeing how they perform in that arena, right? That space. It's gone great. Like, so many people have voted, like just for background for the people listening and watching. Sci-Arena is a platform that compares a lot of different models, third-party models from a bunch of different labs, like OpenAI, Anthropic, what have you, whatever's popular, and it's basically like Chatbot Arena, right? But focused on like kind of like scientific use cases, right? Scientific research use cases, that is just. And again, it speaks to the incentives that we have versus like a commercial lab. Like we can do that. We can invest in that sort of work where others can't. And I think, again, that's where we, kind of get the spotlight on us a bit more, turn attention to what AI2 is doing. And ideally that helps with growth as well, because like then people with resources come, to us and are aware of us and want to partner with us and put out, again, more of that impactful work. And I think that's just super exciting, and I'm thrilled to help with that, as a newly minted comms member.
Yeah, it seems reasonable. We might get cut off. That one's blinking a lot, FYI.
Yeah. Well, that seems like a good place to end it then. It was great having this conversation with you, Nathan, and I'm sure it's just the first of many to come.
Yeah, we'll put more researchers in this chair for you to...
Awesome. Yeah, this chair will get well broken in soon enough. Cool.